pick and ban conversation already. What bans can we expect that we've seen throughout the day and for these teams already?
I'm really hoping for the Xayah ban on blue side to make sure that there's some tension in terms of what you want to pick for the AD carry role. I think Xayah Rakan first rotation on red side is super strong right now.
And just kind of going off the back of that with now a first ban Jarvan, after listening to you kind of talk about, you know, Xerxes champion pool and maybe not having the Lee Sin, that's what I wanted to see. G2 to triple ban junglers, maybe even first pick a jungler and really push Xerxes to see how deep that champion pool goes. How comfortable are you in these matchups against our summer MVP?
I'm liking the Syndra ban as well. This was something that has been disabled in the past weeks, and Syndra Flex is a dangerous one against a team like G2, of course.
And G2 Esports will ban out the Qiyana themselves. Of course, Nukeduck no slouch on that, perhaps in the jungle, but that means they can't play it themselves either. And we'll see what the last ban is in the first phase. And at least so a lot of junglers taken off the table.
But that also means that a ton of ADCs are here. So is this going to be doubling down? Okay, yeah.
Very quickly.
Grabbing something like a jungler or grabbing one of those big ADCs. And I agree with the sentiment from G2 Esports. I think Senna stands above every single ADC right now because of how versatile she is. Like, Xayah only works with Rakan.
There we go. And of course, Origen identified that really quickly. Destiny already had a great performance on Rakan before, and to put him in a comfortable position is important. But Caps was so destructive on Senna when we saw it the last time, so we'll have to see what Origen can put up against it.
How do you feel about the Braum versus Rakan matchup?
I think Rakan definitely wins out there. I think I like the Xayah Rakan, and I considered it just a better ban than the Qiyana because Lee Sin has a good matchup into the Qiyana jungle. Nukeduck doesn't like to play the Qiyana mid lane. I think with Xayah Rakan, it's so good into any support you want to play with Senna. Braum or Tam, perfect for it.
So do you think that that's why G2 have decided to go for the Lee Sin, the LeBlanc, and they're saying we're probably going to get double banned on support? Mickey's going to be able to find either a Thresh, a Braum, or a Nautilus, and it's fine that we can kind of take the L on the bot lane as long as we get some big power in that mid lane and jungle duo?
For sure, I'm with you on that. The question is now, mid lane or no? Is it the Lucian lock-in? Oh, no. Oh, okay.
Can I just say how excited I am about the LeBlanc lock-in for perks? I mean, we don't have to repeat it. I think we showed the VOD of the last RNG game just a couple of days ago, but to see that mid laner back in that position on this mid laner versus Nukeduck, that is hype. But how hype are we about Rek'Sai?
Honestly, not that hyped. I was hoping for something more exotic into the Lee. I want to touch further on the LeBlanc pick because it's such a takeaway from Nukeduck.
Yeah.
He liked to pick it so much. It's a very strong blind pick. Syndra being out, Lee Sin, LeBlanc is one of the best 2v2s in the game right now.
Yeah, fantastic decision there from the side of G2 Esports. And then looking at what will come out for a ban of Lissandra.
Morgana ban is very troll. Very troll.
Is there something weird happening in scrims?
They gotta ban Tam.
It must be.
So here's the thing, like, I know that when Sona Top, and people have been joking about it, one of the strategies that's being played with Sona Top is like a pseudo funnel with like a jungle. And I'm not saying that they're playing Morgana funnel, but the last time we did see Morgana, it usually is in tandem with funnel. And maybe that's just a basic Morgana support ban and they want to play something with big hard CC, like maybe they have the Rakan, you might as well take this one away. But I'm just throwing that out there, just testing the waters.
Might be, we'll see.
It smells like fear to me, man. It just smells like fear. Tam is going to get picked and we'll have this composition that TSM didn't execute with because I think G2 will be able to play on the sidelines. I think that's going to be the biggest difference maker.
Rise there, last ban as well. The Aatrox is banned out. Maybe that signals that we might see a set in the top lane here for the other side. Who knows? We'll see what they decide to go for. Still looking for a top laner and a mid laner for Nukeduck. What will it be?
Oh, okay.
Hover.
Silas.
Oh, it's locked in.
Okay.
Silas, in this situation and current state, what do we think?
Silas has a decent matchup or can play around LeBlanc if it does goes mid lane. Obviously, it's still a flex pick.
Yeah.
Silas has been cropping up a lot in solo queue in both Korea, China, and EU-West. I was watching Whippo play it the other night. And all you need to know is if you haven't seen Silas in a while is he gets ridiculous health back off of his W. It's disgusting.
I think the tricky part about Silas here is that he's going to have to play super aggro. Silas is like AP Irelia. You have to go forward, forward, forward. If you can't go forward, you're going to die over and over and then fall off.
And
Soraka, you want to take it?
Oh, God.
Go ahead.
We were actually just talking about this because the previous game, Senna was having like, every time she healed, she was like healing for like 300, 400. And I was like, imagine if they had a Soraka too. Like, Senna's Soraka is so busted. You would never be able to out-team fight that come mid or late game because they're going to get like 700 health back every single second.
And it looks like it will be going in the top lane. Repeat for yesterday for Wonder. Rather, now we talk so much about Origen and how good they are at crafting these pick and ban phases. What do you think so far, and what would make it work?
I think a lot of curveballs have made it difficult, you know, with Rek'Sai picked there. I think that's a wonky one. Sylas, I think also Nuktak is digging very deep here. I think Sylas is very hit or miss, and I feel like this is the type of game that gets decided in 5 minutes.
Is
Don't
this
pick Rumble.
You can't pick
No,
Rumble.
no.
Is this the first time they've gotten out-drafted? And
Yes.
how much is it going to cost them?
So here's the
A
thing.
game.
Soraka is like a direct counter against Rumble. Rumble presses his ultimate and Soraka just completely eats the damage. She just presses R, she probably has a redemption in there. You do nothing.
I think this one will come down to G2. The contrast between the two drafts is very different. Very big team fight heavy composition on the right side. On the left, they'll have to split. So if they find the fights, maybe OG can claw their way back in.
You both have great analysis and great insight, and the draft is horrible if I get it here correctly.
No,
so,
not horrible, not horrible. It's okay.
Well, you said they lose the game. I think
I think it
that's
will cost them a game.
So how do they save this game? What do they need to see from them for more?
Team fight, team fight, team fight. Because the 5v5, if they get caught, a very squishy composition on the left side. But G2 know how to play mid to late game. They will split around.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Both teams have drafted their compositions. Gyotto and Grabs went head-to-head. He's given a hug. Maybe he's saying, you really got me there this time, Grabs. But we'll see what happens. The fans aplenty with the flags for both G2 Esports and Easy Collapse? Or will it be Craps? Or what will we see? There we go for our match of the week. And after this game, only one team will remain undefeated as Origen and G2 hit the rift.
Welcome to the match of the week between the two undefeated teams, G2 Esports taking on Origen. Wonder did say he was going to play Soraka just a day later than his tweet would suggest.
Sona. He said he was going to play Sona, and then he said, autocorrect, I meant Soraka. And now he's locked it in for the second time. Very strong opinions from the analyst desk. They believe that G2 have hard won the draft, and I'm excited to see how this plays out because, like, I've heard it too, Frosk. I've heard that Soraka, pretty strong counter into Rumble. It makes the lane matchup very difficult. I think that Sylas is, I don't consider it a counter to LeBlanc. Remember, he's had a bunch of changes now. The last time we saw Sylas to what he is now, very different champion. A lot of his auto attacks have been changed. Like, he doesn't have a shield on his E anymore. Like, the champion plays very differently. He's much more of like a, I mean, many people see him as more like a burst mage later into the game, but early on, he doesn't generate a lot of pressure. So, like, we're seeing a situation where G2 should have pushing mid, pushing top, and you have a very strong 2v2 in the mid jungle. I think Rek'Sai does well into the Lee Sin, but I think G2 have quite a lot of early game options, and we know what G2 like to do when they have early game options.
They do, but Origen's a team that has demonstrated absolute sublime control over the last few games, and they've had very strong leads. I want to talk just about the stylistic differences before we get into all the action. In terms of kills, 19.7 per game for G2 in terms of deaths. Third lowest, Origen actually, they've only conceded 10 deaths across the 3 previous games. Next is G2 at 23. I mean, they've had such clean games, but you can tell the difference in styles by the game time, Benny.
Yeah, you certainly can. We know that G2 is a team that their early games have been a little shaky. Obviously, they cleaned that up significantly when they played their game yesterday. But G2 is a team that once they get a slight advantage, they do not slow the game down. They're very good at pressuring, and they're really good at knowing how to snowball. Whereas OG, I think Yamato described it best, they're kind of the team that wants to go for that 99.999% win play. And so they want to make sure that all of the setup is perfect. And when we talk about perfect setups, we can already see things not going so perfect for the Origen duo and the 2v2 in the bot lane.
No, Destiny will punish there. Last weekend when Frosk and I were casting, I think she called him the spell flinger. He was just one of those guys that just kept going in your face over and over and over. And I want to see if that mentality continues. Death Sentence will connect onto Upset. That's going to blow the cleanse. We saw Jankos on his Lee Sin roaming up towards Wonder. And Perks already starting to lead the lane. So G2 already up to some early shenanigans and looking to set themselves up an early advantage.
Wow. Wonder being very aggressive in this lane. You can see he's starting to set up a big push. Perks already bot lane. A slow push was being built up in the 2 versus 2 from Mickey and Caps, and Perks using his pressure already at level 3. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you effectively roam in the mid lane, and he's not going to lose anything for it. He's just going to catch that wave right up, and Nuke Duck, he's not going to be able to do anything, but Xerxes wants to try.
All right, Destiny, no flash available to him. Caps is going to use the mist, and Xerxes cannot engage. Now, remind me, if I think back to draft, that was first rotation, Zyra Khan locked in here for Upset and Destiny. And it is absolutely not working out for them just yet. But this is something that we kind of anticipated. We heard the analyst desk talking a little bit about some of the impacts that you can have, that Soraka pushing in Rumble top, and now Jankos is coming to help.
Has his eyes set on trying to kill Alfari, wants to try and put him behind. We know that he's had some pretty solid performances so far this split. Jankos going to catch the wave as the wave builds up underneath. Here we go.
And Jankos has been so outspoken about this game. Sonic Wave will find its target. Alfari's shield, though, keeps him alive long enough, and Jankos too low level, too low HP to continue the dive.
I want to very quickly note how Wonder led with the silence, which meant that Alfari couldn't actually use anything to then guarantee the land of the Q into the land of the Q from Jankos as well. So the setup, very well executed from G2. They just didn't quite have enough damage because it's Soraka top.
Yeah.
It's Soraka top.
Well, absolutely the case. Xerxes was definitely heavily targeted and picked some bans. Gonna move forward. That cleans Wrath and put some damage down. Wonder will teleport. And now look for some pressure. Nuke Duck will get silenced. So TP from Alfari put him back in lane. The wave was pushed heavily against him.
Yes.
So this won't cost Wonder too much.
It's also really important for Perks so that he can push this wave out, because Origen could have set up a freeze, or at least a situation that would have been very awkward for Perks. So with the arrival of Wonder, they forced Nuke Duck and Xerxes out of the lane, and now they can get the wave to bounce back towards Perks.
All right, now the waves in Wonder's camp here in the middle. And
Scam with Perks.
I just want to quickly remind everybody of one of the little sub-games that is at stake today. Nuke Duck and Upset, both deathless across their 3 games. G2, the team account was tweeting they're going to come for them, and you can see pressure on Upset in that bottom lane.
Yep.
Makes them a little scared. Nuke Duck, so far, not falling prey just yet.
Yeah, and I think we kind of have to contrast them to their counterparts, Quick Shot, because right now we kind of have the KDA Kings with Perks, Caps, Nuke Duck, and Upset, and you can see that they've been very dominant in lane. They've been doing a huge amount of damage, and I was definitely someone that questioned how well will Perks return to the mid lane? Will he be the long-lost king, and will he reclaim his kingdom? And I think so far he's demonstrated that he definitely has.
Does it count when he's playing ADCs?
Good one. Good point.
I want to see what he does in this LeBlanc. And we'll get to this story in a moment as he's dashing forward. The distortion comes out. Nuke Duck turns around, but Perks is able to escape with the distortion once again. There's pressure in the top lane. Nuke Duck continues to be chased by the minions as Wonder and Xerxes are now going toe-to-toe. The Unburrow comes out. Equalizer comes down. Wonder's in trouble. Gets the silence for a second and escapes with his life. No wish available to him.
Wow, the sustain coming out from the Soraka was just too much for Xerxes to handle. Did burn his flash to try and get the kill. With the Alfari ultimate coming through, they thought that would be enough, but unfortunately for Origen, they can't find a kill. Like the aggression coming out from Xerxes, but doesn't result in a kill. We actually see Mickey roaming up towards the top lane as well, kind of hanging in the flanks.
I think they're going to swap. I'm looking at what Caps is doing. Staying in that lane for now. Got a small CS advantage, plus 10 over his opposite number. And Xerxes, despite having, 3 or 4 junglers banned away and then, falling back to Rek'Sai, he's shown up a couple times and is relieving some pressure, trying to set up some plays for OG.
You know, it's also funny because we were just talking about Perks returning to the mid lane. He's playing so well. And then just as he's about to get a kill into Nuke Duck, he misses his E, nearly gets solo killed himself. Bit of a fumble there, but you can see it was a very high pressure situation and both mid laners end up just retreating off the back of it.
I'm going to take a gamble. What is the most memorable Perks LeBlanc game that you've ever seen?
I mean, I cast it because it was G2 versus RNG Game 5.
Shocks just talked about it. It was on match history before the show as well. And you and I, when they were beating RNG at Worlds, and it was such a big surprise, we literally jumped up and hugged each other. And if I remember correctly, Kobe was in between us, and it was just like, he didn't really know what to do, and he was just awkwardly standing there.
No, I think Azael cast that one.
Was it Azael was with us? But what I want to see is, can Perks have the same level of mechanical play? Because he literally 1v9 that game. It was mental. And he started off fairly well so far.
But Nuke Duck and Upset still deathless. The cleanse has now come off cooldown for Upset. And something that we heard the analysts talk about was Soraka counterpicked a Rumble. Well, right now, Alfari doing very well in the lane. You've got to remember a couple of things that obviously have happened. Wonder using his TP into the mid lane. On top of the fact that Alfari did get his jungler to help try and set up a dive. But that has resulted in Alfari having a whole level advantage over Wonder in the 1v1 right now, as we see a bit of a trading happening in the bot lane.
And it looks like Caps was able to sidestep one of the engages there. Nuke Duck is going to continue to dash forward. He's got that hijack from Perks. Alfari steps forward, starts to overheat, and will burn through Wonder. A lot of damage coming up, but a lot of damage traded back. Alfari, plus 15 CS. The action's not done yet. The junglers are going to meet in the mid lane. Xerxes' passive will spot out Jankos, and there's the engage from Perks. He comes away worse, though, as he's chunked. And as it stands, OG, they're grouping up, and it seems like they're starting to apply a little bit of pressure around this southern river.
I mean, I think OG will be pretty strong in the mid game, and I also think that they scale relatively well. I think one of the big things they're going to struggle with is Senna in the late game. And of course, like, when you think about LeBlanc, what she does very well is in the late game, she can just chunk you out of nowhere, right? She can maneuver around vision, she can find you out of position, and then she can just jump over the wall, QR, maybe land an E, there goes your HP, right? But you then have Upset's ultimate to be able to dodge that. Ooh, actually, we can see an engage.
Here's the engage. Destiny manages to catch Caps, but he finds the Lantern. Is going to be able to escape the Law bottom lane. There's Thresh's Lantern saving Senna for a change, but good engage from Destiny.
So just a heal for Ignite trade. This could give Xerxes an opportunity to go for the Drake, but of course, Nuke Duck has gone base, so they won't be able to find anything off the back of that. Keep your eyes on Caps now. He's pushing in the mid lane. He does have the Ignite available too, but we do see these two control wards just sitting on the minimap, right here and right here, which means that if he wants to roam up top or if he wants to roam up bot, obviously he's going to get spotted, and you can already see the pings coming out. So Alfari immediately going to disengage off the back of that one, and this roam power of Perks is being heavily mitigated by this good river vision that's coming out from Origin.
I'm so excited. We're 10 minutes in, and OG and G2 are dead even. We've got a number of champions that are going to be very exciting to watch during the course of the mid-game. Nuke Duck stepping all the way forward, not going to be able to land the chains. I don't think Perks did either. Manages to distort all the way back into Nuke Duck's face, and now Destiny will step forward into Jankos. But like, this is the first litmus test. I used I said a quote in the Match of the Week hype video. I said, I feel these are the top two teams in Europe right now. Now, this is before seeing Fnatic continue to smash this weekend, so I do have to revise that a touch. But it's good to see what level of competitiveness Origin will put up against G2. And it feels to me, with the draft and the way the draft played out, G2 are in try-hard mode, that they're playing deadly serious. VODs, as you can see, Mickey will find a death sentence. First blood secured onto Destiny, but now all of a sudden Origin are flanking. The overheat in Alfari has just timed out. Equalizer comes down. Rift Herald is still the target. Flash forward, exhaust onto Alfari. Nuke Duck steps forward. Remember, he's still deathless. One more death is available. The railgun comes out. Alfari goes down. A second kill for G2. And Nuke Duck is running for his life. They lost Destiny first, and the TP engage did not work out. Perks, don't think he has enough damage just yet. Nuke Duck's going to be able to heal away some of that chip.
So Origin are the team that tried to force the play there by starting up the Rift Herald, but not going to quite land there. But it's G2 that ends up coming out on top, largely just because they were in a better position and they were able to execute better. When we get the replay up, I actually want you to keep your eyes on the chain CC combination that comes out when a Soraka is in the game. Her silence is so devastating because it prevents you from doing literally anything. Upset currently being run down.
Takes a lot of damage, but he escapes with his life for now. Still has cleanse and flash, though.
Cap's also aware that there are people in the river, and they're not his friends. So he doesn't want to overextend there. Destiny now a little overextended.
All right, round two, fight! Waiting for the chains. Perks a little late on that one, buddy. Destiny was able to fly away to safety and had the quicker fingers. Teleport now coming down as Nuke Duck will join the fray in the middle lane. When he CC connects onto Perks, combined with Xerxes and Destiny, this could be a dead mid laner. Following Nuke Duck, he's trying to bait out something. Flash is still available for Perks.
Whew. So, G2 find themselves with a bit of a gold advantage early on, and here's the replay that we were looking for. So notice here, the hook initially lands and the silence follow-up. There's nothing that he can do. He thinks he's normally safe in this situation, but of course, that chain CC prevents him from doing so. Now, Alphari TP's onto a control ward, and you're thinking, oh, this flank is perfect. Here comes the Rumble ultimate. But notice how Caps just zones away the Xayah, and Xerxes can't get anywhere near because Perks is keeping him off the back of the fight. So initially, while it looks like a good flank, the problem is OG can't actually collapse. So it ends up just being Alphari running into a 1 versus 5.
Yeah, not able to do much more. So G2 come away with a 1,000 gold lead. The Herald was not secured during the course of it. And while we were watching that replay, Origen did get into a little bit of a scuffle in the mid lane. Let's take a quick status of the CS differences. Alphari plus 25 over Wanda's Soraka, and then vice versa for Perks. He's currently up about 13. Wanda now under a little bit of threat, but if you look at the minimap, support from G2 coming down. So the tension is still very, very high as we're now moving into this mid-game. No towers have fallen yet, but we've swapped lanes, Vedius.
The man, Drake can be started up. Rift Herald would normally be traded by Origen. We heard Gyoto talk about it in his interview yesterday where he's like, if we're conceding a Drake, normally we're trading it for something somewhere else on the map. And this is the first time we're seeing Origen not have that same level of control that they've had in the past. They're going to have to give this Drake up completely uncontested. There's nothing that they get off the back of it. And G2, they're sitting very comfortably right now. Okay,
set some expectations for me then in these next few minutes. First Dragon down at 14.5. No towers yet. We've got Australia lanes. So what do either team want to do to unlock an advantage?
Well, for G2, I think they're happy just scaling. Normally you'd say this about Origen, but when you think about the late game power, I think Senna's really strong. I think Soraka's going to heavily outscale what the Rumble will offer in these team fights. And of course, he will be rushing the Morellonomicon to try and mitigate some of that healing, but things like the silence are very powerful in the late game, and LeBlanc's damage is going to be very obnoxious to deal with later into the game. Now, Wanda oversteps a little bit.
He does. The silence not out just yet as Overheat comes down. Equalizer starts to burn Wanda. Flame Spitter comes out once again. Wish is still available. Has now been used. Alphari throws everything at Wanda, and it pushes him away, but it's not enough for the kill. While that was going on, there's an engage up in the top lane. Nukeduck running for his life for now. The Herald is the focus as the distortion comes forward. Perks will manage to make his way out. Herald still alive. Death sentence goes between the uprights. Nobody caught yet. Finally, Herald looks like it will go down. Destiny manages to get an engage. The Herald is dropped as the flay goes backwards. Upset Nukeduck now falling back. Nukeduck gets caught up by the ethereal chains. He gets turned on, collapsed on. This might be the first death of Nukeduck in 2020.
G2 shut down Nukeduck. He will no longer remain deathless. The decade of the duck is done. And G2 now set their eyes set on the tier 1 in the mid lane.
Oh, I really like that one. Well, look at this. G2, they outplay the skirmish. I think, do you think it's fair to say second time in a row that OG's sort of fishing, trying to set something up?
Yeah, and this is quite uncharacteristic for OG, but this is also what G2 do. They get into your head, they force you to play in a way that you don't feel comfortable playing, and like, they think that they can force this fight right now. Oh, Destiny, he messes up his execution. He can't catch Caps out. Perks is uncontested, and Mickey's the one that takes the brunt of the damage. This then forces OG to be split up. And look, Upset, he's still chunked out from the earlier damage that he took from Perks. He never got to lifesteal that back up. Nukeduck then drops. G2 delivered on their promise. Now there's only Upset that they have to kill, and the quest will be complete.
All right, Perks takes a lot of damage from Xerxes and Destiny as the combo forces him back. 4 kills to 0. 2,000 gold up, correction, 3,000 gold up actually, as well as a Mountain Drake. G2 Esports sitting very, very comfortably, very happy. If we know these players, they continue to accelerate ahead. Their next objective will be to hunt Upset down and do everything they can to manage to pick up yet another kill.
Now, Origen will likely be able to get this tower. You can see the positioning and control they have over the top side of the map means that G2's not going to be able to respond in time. But because G2 do have the Herald and Destiny is going to die,
ouchies.
G2 can now use this as an opportunity to push into the tier 1 in the top lane with the Herald that they have. I want to see them clear up the topside river, which Mickey is doing right now. And with Caps pushing in that wave, he can then look to rotate up towards the top lane and assist G2 in sieging on that tower.
Do you hold Destiny accountable for being killed there? You know, the tower's being pushed top, and G2 obviously,
I mean, yeah,
some information.
His AD carry already backed off, and
yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have his flash available to him, but I feel like that Destiny is not having the same performance that he's had so far in this split, but of course he is going up against arguably the best support in Europe.
Definitely the case, and Nukeduck is under so much pressure. The rest of Origen arrived very, very late. Nukeduck's stolen ultimate, gets fired down, and now G2 are on the retreat. Xerxes gets a knock-up once again. The equalizer burns through so many members of G2 Esports. Caps gets saved by the Wish once again. That was really nicely done from Wonder, who's teleported into the back line. Gets bitten in the face by Xerxes Rek'Sai. Perks comes over the wall, throws out the signal of Malice, and it is full of Malice. As Upset will concede his first death. No, he won't. He manages to pick up a kill. He's on the way back. Perks is hunting
Perks
and
wants
running.
it.
He wants to make it happen. The feathers fly, and Upset is still not yet done. Calls the feathers back! Upset, you beauty!
Look at the smile on Perks' face. He knows, but can Upset get out of this one?
Oh, I don't think so. It's a 2v1, and he's used everything. G2 go hunting, 9 kills to 3. And they are just on a tear.
The Deathless are no more as G2 deliver on their promise and find the kills onto Nukeduck and Upset. You can see that the damage being delivered by Upset is definitely nothing to laugh at, but this fight was chaotic, and that is just G2's playground. G2, they use the pressure that they have in top lane and mid lane to move into the topside jungle to get some vision control. OG uses this as an opportunity to force the fight. Soraka isn't there yet, and they think that G2 is out of position. They start off by committing to Yankos, but then Perks is utilizing the mobility of LeBlanc to zone away the backline, preventing the follow-up from happening, and this is when Wonder joins the fight. He's forced to back away immediately after getting substantial damage onto Xerxes, and as the rest try to follow onto Alfari, who has their eyes set on Wonder, that is when Caps and Mickey are able to start cleaning up on the backside of the fight. Beautifully played by G2, and again, just utilizing the tools of their composition. High mobility, high disengage, and overall being very obnoxious.
Such good heads-up play from Upset to position himself in a way that multiple feathers will tag. And just the display of mechanical ability is beautiful this game. OG, unfortunately, just being a little bit outclassed. Caps 4-0-4 as it stands. Now Nukeduck is jumping onto Wonder. Yankos is waiting nearby, and here comes Alfari. Equalizer comes down, that's a decent engage. Morello Nomicon is going to help out against Wonder's heal. Wish is still available to him, it has now been used. 4 members of Origen go in, they get 1 kill, turn their attention to Wonder, who's throwing out the silence, trying to find a route. He goes down, it's Nukeduck that finds another, and OG strike back. They're also going to look at the tower.
And G2 are looking to trade elsewhere on the map. Yes, this is a good play for Origen because they are able to get some shutdown gold. They're able to get those very much needed kills onto G2 Esports, but looks like they're only going to be able to trade it for 1 tower as G2 is just gaining so much more control over the rest of the map.
3 towers to 1, 3,000 gold lead, and 2 dragons in favor of G2. Origen, they can turtle now. When you think about it, hiding under those inhibitor turrets, there is some possibilities for them to defend. It'll take a little while before Senna can have nice long range and try to harass down those towers, but...
Well, you say that. How many stacks is she at? She's already at 50 stacks.
Okay.
All right, so to put that into perspective, Reckless had 58 at like 28 minutes into the game, and Caps is already at 50 when we're at 21 minutes into the game. So he's going to have 675 range very early on. But we're having a look back at this replay. You can see the ridiculous amount of sustain that comes out from Wonder, but this is where the Morello Nomicon is really valuable, cutting that healing in half. Like, that was a 446 heal after the Grievous wounds have been applied. Imagine if they weren't quick shot. Like, I don't know if that 4-man would have been enough to actually get those kills.
So how do Origen then defend this? What do they need to do? Find a few more of those picks, obviously.
I mean, one of the problems that Origen now finds themselves in is, like, I think G2's comp outscales them. I think in the late game, especially with the damage that comes out from Perks, being 2 levels ahead and very strong, on top of the fact that there's the healing that consistently comes out from Soraka, like, OG need to try and keep being proactive, looking for these picks. Otherwise, the game is just kind of slowly going to get harder and harder for them to play, which is kind of the opposite of what we expected, because this is how Origen normally like to play. They're the ones that have always drafted the superior scaling comp, and then they buy their time. But G2, even though they're drafting scaling, they don't slow the game down, and this is what makes them challenging. They are just naturally a proactive team. They always look for opportunities.
All right, taking a look at the bottom there. All right, bounce back to the distortion. I missed that one live.
Perks literally looked into the eyes of Origen, and he's like, come on, come at me. And then he just taunts them by immediately dashing back. Ugh. this man, he loves to toy with the mental of his opponents.
He does. G2 don't look to defeat their opponents, they look to obliterate them.
I mean, it was funny because in the chat at the beginning, you know, before we get into the game, they were typing in the chat and they were saying like, hey, please don't mute all chat. You know, they're saying like they want to be involved in the banter. They want Origen to be able to read some of the things that they're saying. I don't know what they are saying. I hope we get some cool clips in Pro View, but I'm sure the G2 players have some spicy words for this game.
So we're a bit surprised by how this draft took shape and then played out. And coming into the game, it was one of the big points you highlighted, that for Origen, the draft is going to be important.
Yeah.
You know, we got 23 minutes of gameplay. It feels like G2 are in, you know, fair amount of control here. So do you think G2 OG go in their own heads a little bit, like changed up their own style, try to... You know,
No, I think that they kind of drafted in response to what G2 was doing. And like, when you kind of look at their comp on paper, it wasn't terrible because I think that Silas is challenging for LeBlanc to deal with because the amount of healing that you get from the Kingslayer is very, very strong. And like now we see the results of it because of the impact that Perks has been having around the rest of the map. But I think what Nukeduck struggled with was he wasn't expecting his bot lane to honestly get crushed in the 2 versus 2. And the top side of the map, Origen were investing all of their resources, but it wasn't paying out massively. And admittedly, Alfari is 2 levels ahead, and you can see that while there is a mid lane discrepancy, that same discrepancy exists in the top side of the map.
70 CS difference for opposite members.
The difference is, even though Wonder is level 12, like, he only needs to have points in his healing, right? He's got 4 points, and when he hits 13, that healing is going to be maxed, and that means that that's his job. He runs around, he heals, he silences, heals, silences, and the damage comes from Perks and Caps. As long as they stay alive, then G2 will win all the fights.
Oh, a little bit of shenanigans afoot in the mid lane. No CC connecting yet, but all 5 members of both sides have now started to group up. Perks, does he dance in the face of death once again? Distorts in, chains procs, not going to do a double over. Flash and Ignite was available to him. Infernal Drake has just spawned as well. G2 have got control of the mid lane and they're going to peel back to the river. Destiny's going to be in some trouble. He can get caught out. That's a double distort. He's able to fly away to safety. Destiny is dancing on the edge of safety over and over.
G2 once again utilizing pressure very well, showcasing that they too understand how to manage their waves and manipulate the map, and it's just a matter of using mid lane pressure. They didn't need the wave in bot lane because they knew that OG wouldn't be able to overextend because Origen had no control over the river. And then with that pressure, they forced OG out of their jungle, and then they converted into a Drake. Just like very clean League of Legends, not too over eager, but it could have resulted in kills. And like we're 25.5 minutes in, G2 have a 4K gold lead. Like there's a reason why this team made it to the World Finals, why they won MSI, back-to-back champions domestically. Like yes, they made that roster swap, but like Perks was a world-class mid laner before he moved to AD carry. And
I know I'm projecting a little bit, but I really feel like, in comparison to the last 2 games you've seen, G2 are just a little bit more try-hard today.
Oh, they're always more try-hard against, like...
They're very focused, and they're not as loose.
I mean, we heard it from Yankus, right? I think when G2 hit anything that they... Oh my god, the damage.
That's so much damage that upsets.
When they hit something that they don't like, they take it personally. You know? And when Yankos heard, like, when the G2 players heard that they were being compared to be on the same bar as Origen, they were like, okay, we were in the World Finals against FPX. Let's just rewind this and remind them like why we were there. And of course, they haven't won yet, but in the position that they're currently in and the way that they've played this game, it feels like the Origen have been playing to G2's game and not the other way around.
Was it Yankos that said they're a bunch of washed-up players?
That is the player that said that, yes.
Was pretty much where he stood. And look, you know, putting his money where his mouth is. 2, 2, and 5 on this Lee Sin. Has been able to respond to everything. And now Perks is
now
waiting.
level 16, Trevor.
Okay, and the rest of G2, they've started a 2-man Baron. Yankos and Caps are there. Perks goes toe-to-toe with Nukeduck, and he comes off way better.
Cersei's level 10.
Distorted into the wall. We'll ignore that one for now. Cersei is in so much trouble. Look, all of OG are struggling as Perks
a slow
again.
Baron, Trevor.
What does it mean, Vedius?
It's slow. Real slow. Okay, they're looking for something.
I'm trying to get you to help set me up.
Here we go. Origen, 5-man. They're grouping up towards the Baron. Only 2 people are on it right now. They're using the sustain from Caps. But Perks is level 16, he's looking for the flank. Keep your eyes on Perks.
Oh, Destiny got caught up by the death sentence. That means the engage tool is reduced. Equalizer is up and available. Alfari stepping forward. He has thrown it down inside the pit. Manages to not take out anybody just yet. Nuketek escaping with his life. The exhaust reduces his damage. Now Perks is flanking on the backside. Destiny manages to predict it, gets the knockup, but he goes down. Perks still gets a kill as Nuketek forces Perks' clone away for now. OG, it looked so good at the start, and Caps will be hunting down Nuketek, who will get the kill. Yankos will manage to step forward. It's Perks who does it. 4-1 and 5. Destiny being caught by that death sentence, I feel, was so instrumental in that fight.
But I also just want to draw attention to like what Perks was doing. He was basically 1v5ing that fight because, you know, we talked last game about how Rengar kind of has that pressure, you know, and how when he goes invisible, you don't know what you're supposed to do. Perks is just doing that. Ooh, and now he's dead. Right, so that's what he was trying to do again, but this time round, he didn't have his flash available, and he ends up getting punished for it. So a little too much confidence coming out from Perks there. Now G2.
Oh, they're going to push all the way forward. Wonder's going to get burned down. No wish available to him. Xerxes kills Yankos. G2 overextend, maybe a little over-aggressive. Perks goes down first, Yankos after. They still don't get the Baron. The fight's not done. Equalizes back up for Alfari. He drops it on G2's heads. Starts to burn them down. Wishes a few seconds away. So here comes Upset. Nuketek is coming in from behind. Origen are right back in the match of the week. They turn their attention onto Caps and to Wonder. They're not done yet. And do they feel brave enough to go for Baron?
They definitely should. Yankos is still 12 seconds away. Origen have all 5 members alive. Teleport is up for Alfari. Like, a huge throw has just come from G2, and now Origen is saying, you know what, we'll take that.
Thank you, because I wanted to have a good game to end the week. And Origen punished G2's decision-making. You cannot say that more accurately. G2 put themselves in a position where they could get collapsed on Perks, and Mickey stepped all the way forward. And now OG even up the gold. They have Baron on 5 of their members. And they escape with their lives.
G2, man, they're trolling. Like, they had a 1-team fight, quick shot. Like, this was the initial fight that I thought was well played. You talked about it. A good hook onto Destiny, right? But then we see what Perks is doing. Notice how Origen now always have in the back of their mind, Perks is here, Perks is here, Perks is here, Perks is here. They want to commit, but Upset can't. He has to deal with the fact that someone is flanking him, and he gets a couple hits off onto Mickey. That doesn't mean much, and immediately they're on the disengage. Great knockup from Destiny, but then the heal comes out, and he's able to disengage. Ooh, now we see the chase coming in from Origen.
Oh,
whoa!
Where did that burst come from?
What?
I couldn't even see the animation. Alfari is blown up where he stands. Destiny gets kicked backwards by Yankos' Lee Sin, and despite the feathers flying, Upset cannot help his team out. 2 quick kills to G2.
Perks goes caps lock, and he just shuts down Alfari. The rumble disappeared, man! Like, I was not expecting that damage to come out. Of course, the death cap is now completed. G2 going to convert this into the Dragon Soul. Just as we're counting G2 out, just as we're criticizing for that throw, they immediately come back into the game. It's like they're playing with their food, quick shot.
I need to see it in slow-mo because Alfari was just melted. Fourth Dragon they picked up by G2, and now they're going to siege on. The 2 Baron buffs removed from OG. How much will this impact them? 5 seconds before Alfari comes back up. No TP available. Dirks dashes over the wall. And just to throw out 2 Sigils. The tower starts to get chipped away from as Cap steps in. Destiny again gets chunked out. And Perks is so confident with those distortions just over and over and over. He's got some vision to play with as well. It's just a fantastic performance on the return to LeBlanc.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But like, what a chaotic game we've been seeing. You know, Origen have really been on the back foot for the majority of the game. Alfari is kind of in the saving grace for Origen in a lot of these fights. He's been outputting a lot of damage because Upset honestly can't. He's always keeping his eyes out for Perks, but you can see Upset, he's level 16 now. He's got 3.5 items completed, and let's have a look at how this happened. So Alfari walks into the brush, gets hooked up, chains into QR, dead.
QR secondary proc of the first E.
Yep.
Just gone.
Yeah, so I mean, you're right. So the sigils obviously proc each other, and then the E procs the final proc. So that was more than enough damage to get the kill. Now Origen, of course, do still get something back. The Baron buff, hook lands.
Their sentence comes out. No further engage, though, because it's only Wonder and Caps that are nearby. 2 quick towers picked up by Origen. They haven't yet conceded this game. But the fact, it is a Mountain Rift, Fire Rift as well. The fact that Perkz is going to be able to run through the jungle and try find additional opportunities to jump in the backline, this could be even more problematic. We saw it a few moments ago as Upset was trying to retreat. Baron is now timed out, and Elder's 4 minutes away, and Baron 3 minutes.
I mean, this game suddenly became a lot more tense. After that G2 throw, it feels like the momentum is not heavily in their favor. And when you look at the map state, it feels like G2's definitely still in the driver's seat. But we talked about it briefly earlier, and I want to draw attention to it again. Upset. Level 16 is a big deal. He now has 3.5 items completed. I'm thinking he's about to... There it is, the Phantom Dancer. Now done for him. Like... Origen should feel pretty strong right now. Alphari just hit level 17. I would not count Origen out just yet.
Yeah, but contrasted, Wonder level 14. Perkz 17 to Nukeduck's 14. There's so much displaced power. Upset survives. And Vedius almost felt the pain of that one if you could have seen his face.
It hurts so much.
But as long as Perkz can keep doing that, then G2 can just continue to siege. The tower is being chipped away from, and Nukeduck steps forward. Xerxes below half health. He gets away from the chains. Upset is in trouble. He's forced to use the ulti. Forced to flash. Goes golden, but Destiny's dead. Upset's caught behind enemy lines. It's 2 more kills to G2 go for the win right now. They can take out the inhibitor, and they've got some minions to play with.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not bend the knee, you have to now, because the king has come to reclaim his kingdom. Perkz on LeBlanc has dominated this game, and G2 are looking to dominate Origen.
They're gonna pick up a few more kills under the turret. 6, 1, and 9 for Cap. 6, 2, and 8 for Perkz on his LeBlanc. They're gonna wait for some more minions to come in. It has been a mostly clean game. One play around that Baron, but you've got to give credit to how G2 have, played the majority of the game.
I mean, for sure. Like, for the majority of this, it was G2's control. They played this extremely well, and you get to see what a great late-game LeBlanc player looks like, and it's good to see that Perkz hasn't lost his stuff, because he's been so instrumental in a lot of these late-game fights. Origen is respawning. Trevor, I think we're about to see the final team fight of the game. Let's see if Origen can still hold out onto hope.
I got a better question. Let's see how many G2 want to hunt.
Big ult.
There's the engage from the quickness as well as the equalizer. Wish is not available. And Alphari's already used that ulti. As silence goes down to Nukeduck, he simply cannot get involved. That's going to be a dead Xerxes. He tried to use the ulti, and Nukeduck is just forced away. The amount of CC from the Soraka is so frustrating to deal with. Death Sentence catches one more on Alphari, and exactly as expected, G2 are looking to style on OG and send a statement. Undefeated 4-0. The undisputable best team in Europe remains unchallenged in 2020. If anybody watches the Oscars and somebody's taking too long in their speech and they get played off,
yeah, that's what just happened.
That's just what happened. That is exactly what just happened from our production team. I mean,
G2 made it exciting, right? Like, they threw really hard. Like, really hard. They gave away the Baron. There was an opportunity for OG to come back into the game. And then one small mistake, Alphari gets hooked, he dies. Immediately, G2 are back in the driver's seat.
Coming into today, Origen with 3-0, and they'd only conceded 10 deaths in their previous games. They conceded 21 deaths in a single game against G2. And I think it goes to show that when G2 want to, they put their try-hard pants on, they are still, beyond a shadow of a doubt, individually and as a team, the strongest.
I mean, Fnatic is also looking very good, sets us up nicely for the classic. I would say the El Clasico in Europe now.
I agree with that.
G2 and Fnatic. That's going to be happening in week 3. Definitely going to be a matchup worth watching, as we can see that both teams seem to be informed. But Origen, I think, what can we say? Nukeduck, I think, kind of got, his impact was minimal on the Sylas. A lot of debate around whether he was able to, whether the pick was good and how much of an impact he could have. I think that we saw Alphari, doing Alphari things, trying very hard to try and turn these fights in his favor. And Upset, kind of, him versus Perkz is pretty much what a lot of these team fights were, but it was consistently Perkz that was coming out on top.
And he's one of the key player of the game suggestions over at LEC. Jankos and Caps round out the 3. And at the end of the day, just a fantastic performance again. G2 4-0, OG 3-1.
And he's not on the list, but massive shout out to Mickey this game. 2-1 and 18. 20 of the 21 kills is what he was involved with on a Thresh. So he set up a lot of the plays, and also he's a player that I've been very critical of during the World Championship, end of last split, and last week. And it's great to see him kind of performing to the level that so many expect of him as they put him as the best support in Europe and one of the best supports in the world.
Yeah, fantastic performance. Grabs taking a walk out. There were some big words from Grabs before the game, and his team absolutely delivered. So fantastic performance, G2 end the week. 4-0 in total. It's going to give us a lot of interesting things to talk about when you contrast yesterday's games to today's. We won't have time to talk about it today because right now, Perks is standing by with Law.
Thank you, guys, and congrats, G2, on remaining undefeated here. Thank you, Perks, for joining me. I want to talk about Origen because so far they had been praised about their draft. So I want to know how you worked around this today because you outdrafted them really bad.
Well, I do think that they are praised because of the droughts, because they always pick Gragas. So they always get like Gragas on their team for some reason, and we never get Gragas on our team. So I think that's one of the reasons why the droughts are really good first 2 games. I think as soon as Gragas is out of the equation, the droughts are like a bit harder to do. So yeah, I think we got a good draft this time around.
So from what you saw, are you saying that maybe Xerxes champion pool may become an issue for Origen?
I don't think it's necessarily Xerxes champion pool. I just think Gragas is really busted right now. And Xerxes can play more champions, right? It's just like Gragas being so OP and Predator being insanely broken. I don't know why it's still in the game, but yeah, that's basically it. I think Xerxes is good jungler and other champs as well.
I agree on that, but I was surprised to see them leave Tahm open, but I was even more surprised to see you guys pick Thresh instead of Tahm. So can you explain this decision? Because I heard that Senna plus Tahm is a really busted composition.
Well, Mickey and Tahm, that's like not really a good duo. You know, Mickey and Tahm just doesn't go very well. He always ints on the champ, so we're not really wanting to force him to play Tahm. But I do think Thresh was a better pick than Tahm anyways. Thresh allows Lee Sin and LeBlanc to play more aggressive and has harder control early game than Tahm would. So I think our draft was really good, yeah.
I see, and I mean, it worked, so obviously it was a good draft. But one thing that surprised me with you is that so far, you had pretty slow early games, and then the 20-minute marks hits, and then you steamroll over teams. And here, you had a really fast early game, but the rest mid-game was kind of slow. So can you explain that?
Well, in this game, we are really giga-outscaling them. So getting early game leads is up to their mistakes, I feel like. Not, I mean, they played well, right? But they should be ahead early game, I feel like. And yeah, it's just we have really good scaling. And I was playing Silent while Nuke was not. He was grouping a lot, which they kind of have to do as well because we have Lee Sin and Soraka ult. So I think that we just played to our winning condition and they tried to play to theirs and we prevailed, yeah.
Well, taking a step back here and focusing more on Europe as a whole, I listened to what Janko said yesterday and what he thought about what is supposed to be the second best team in Europe. So can you tell me what you think about the level in Europe right now?
I think Europe is quite strong, the top teams at least. Even like the mid-tier teams, they have potential. And it's not really settled who is really good right now, but I think Fnatic will always be good as long as they have like the main core they have, right? So Fnatic is, I think, the second best team in Europe, not Origen, right? And I thought so before playing them, and even when they played against each other. But so playing against Fnatic next week will be really hype because those games are always hype, right? And establishing ourselves as the best team in Europe once again next week will be the goal, yeah.
And we'll see about that next week. Now, about the underdogs, the dark horses, we talked about Excel, Rogue. Who should be the most surprising team on the spring split for you?
Well, I don't think Rogue is really an underdog in this split. I feel like they have a pretty strong roster all around. They should for sure make playoffs, right? Compared to previous splits where it was a struggle. I think Excel could be a good team. I guess it's hard to say. There's a lot of like mid-tier teams that could be good, but I'm not sure, honestly. We'll just have to see how it plans out, yeah.
We'll see about that and who becomes better through the split. And now, I want to ask you, I have the answer, but who do you think got player of the game here?
Got player of the game?
Yeah.
Well, it was probably going to be Caps or me, because Caps was really consistent with Senna, and I was making some big plays. So it was me?
Yeah, it was you.
Well, thank you very much, fans. I appreciate everyone who voted for me. I know that I kind of deserved it, so thank you.
Well, last question before throwing to PGL. I want to ask you, you went back to your kingdom this year. I want to know, as a mid laner who went to bot lane, who went back to mid lane, are you helping Caps with this transition?
Yeah, I think it's a mutual, we're working together, because there was like some champions that were released last year that I didn't play, such as Akali and Kiana, and I got some tips from him there on those champions, and I'm teaching him in general bot-lane knowledge, because it's a much different role, but similar in a way. Just he already has the new champions coming out, Sen and Aphelios, that he's very good at, because it's the same, they released the same time as other AD carriers got it, so he's like as good or better than them on those champs, and he's learning really fast. He's like very, very skilled, so I think we will not have any problems with that, yeah.
And it's always nice to hear about the synergy between the two of you. Thank you very much, Perks, for the interview, and congrats on the win once again. And to end this week too, let's send it over to Shux. Take it away.